about is the Lancaster Rec Center is one of our main partners for our nonprofit Aim to Empower. For the nonprofit, what we do is we partner with other already established community organizations, and together we serve their population who are of the underserved in our community. We bring yoga and meditation to those groups. Everybody gets a yoga mat, everybody takes class for free. And the Lancaster Rec Center is sponsoring, again, for the first time since the pandemic, their Open Streets Festival, which is in downtown Lancaster on June 19th. And Aim to Empower will have a stand there. So maybe you'll come out and give us a visit at Open Streets from, I think it's 10 to 3. Anybody know? On June 19th. Okay, let's get ready to go. Child's pose. You know, when you do yoga classes in unusual settings, not a yoga studio, you guys are willing. You come to your mats, you're ready to go, you want to do all the things. It's not always the case then when we're in a different setting or environment. And by the end, it's always the same result. People have that same good feeling that we have here on our mats. And sometimes what our AIM participants share with us is they maybe feel less reactive, more peaceful, less angry, or any one of the human emotions any of us feel. And so the idea that more of the population of our whole community has access to self-healing like this is a very grassroots way of improving and changing our whole community. Take a deep breath in and exhale through your mouth. Then slow, steady, deep, rhythmic breath. Part of why yoga is not only an individual pursuit, but also a community building pursuit is that on our mats, as we breathe, and in this quest to feeling more peaceful ourselves by the end, we're working together to that result, breath by breath. So breathe loudly enough that those on the mats around you or at home can hear you breathing and feel you breathing, even if it's just in their imagination. And then you'll know it's loud enough when what you can do is hear the people around you breathing. And in that way, move by move, breath by breath, we become connected. On your next inhale, lift yourself up into downward facing dog. When you're in your downward facing dog, you can bend and straighten your knees and start just stretching out, filling up the skin that you're in, and continuing to connect with people around you. In the end, the result is that we become connected as we are and in the present moment, different than by our ideas or our emotions. Take another deep breath in. Exhale, look to the front of your mat and step up to the front of your mat. When you get to the front, feet hip width distance. Inhale, lift up halfway, and exhale, hang down. Keep your breath flowing. You can sway from side to side. And right here in this pose, keep on breathing. And as you're breathing and you're starting to make changes in your body, maybe become aware of how the room starts changing. Your connection to others starts to change. You don't have to know what you're looking for and seek a result to my question. The request is just open to that being possible. Then press your feet down into the mat, come rolling all of the way up to standing. Once you're standing tall, reach your arms overhead to the sky up above you, look up and stretch. Then bring your hands into prayer position and just pause for a second. Together we'll chant Om 3 times. It brings us together in our breathing and it creates a clearing, getting us ready to practice and create something new inside the clearing. Take a deep breath in. Inhale, look up and reach up. Exhale, fold down to the floor. Inhale, lift up halfway, then high plank to low plank. Also looks like a push-up. Inhale, straighten your arms, lift your chest, upward facing dog. Exhale, move to downward facing dog and breathe. So now we're moving from integrating poses, just getting integrated into our breath, into the practice, to awakening poses and movements. Take one more breath in. On the exhale, bend your knees and look forward. Step or jump up to your hands. Halfway lift, fold. Press your feet into the floor, reach up to the sky and stretch. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Inhale, lift up halfway. Low plank on the exhale. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Let's work on this breath together. Inhale, exhale. 2 more. Inhale, exhale. Good to see you this morning, Shannon. One more time. Breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees. Step or jump up to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Inhale, stand. Now maybe stretch up and go back. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Halfway lift. You could drop right down into the low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Work for the breath. Inhale, exhale. This pace might not be what you're naturally inclined to right now, and that's okay. We're working to move towards something together. Last time, breathe in, exhale, bend your knees, and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. One more time, stand up, stretch as high as you can, then stretch back, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, long flat back, drop to your low plank. Upward facing dog, stretch the whole front of your body, downward facing dog. Breathe. Now each pose should feel good, and inside of that, alive and challenging. And then within that, you should still be able to breathe. Last breath in. On the exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Moving on, chair pose. Sit like you're reaching for a chair and reach, then fold for the floor. Halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward and lunge deep enough that there's sensation in both of your legs, and then reach. Hands to the floor, low push-up. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Now step your left foot forward. Deep, low, and long enough. Reach. Hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Breathe here. Breath by breath, we're endeavoring to do things and feel things in a way we didn't already. One more time, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, sit, reach, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward. Anchor both of your feet. Press the back edge of your back foot down. Then hands back to the floor, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Left side step. Deep lunge, look up and reach. Hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, and breathe. So if you find you're a little out of sync, don't worry about that. There's not a right and a wrong way to do yoga. And what there is to try. To come to your edge where your breathing's a little bit more challenged, and then to work with your breath. Take another deep breath in. On the exhale, bend your knees, jump. Halfway lift, fold. Chair pose, sit deep and reach your arms, elbows, wrists, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, drop to your low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward and lunge. Deep lunge, stretch until your fingertips are alive. Hands to the floor, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Left side, step. Bend your knee a lot and stretch. Hands to the floor, chaturanga. Up dog to downward facing dog, and breathe. Anytime you feel the need, like your breath pacing and fullness and regularity are a little out of your reach, you can always take a breath in, open up your mouth, sigh, and bring yourself back to a clean slate. One more time, inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, sit, stretch your elbows, your wrists, your fingers, fold. Halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Right side step. This one, the last one. Biggest, boldest stretch. Stretch even the bottom of your lungs. Hands down for chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Left side. We're going now for the bottom of the lungs. So reach and stretch and fill up. Hands down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. So here might be a great spot to take a breath in, to open up your mouth and to sigh. Raise your right leg into the air, bend your knee and flip the pose over. So flipping the pose over could look different in every body. And one way it could look is to be seated, left hand on the mat behind you, right arm like you're holding a tray of cookies or pizza or something. Everyone chest stretching. So for each of us, to the degree that your body will go, take yourself to your edge. Don't hold anything back. Go to your edge physically and then just breathe. Deal with whatever's showing up in your body by breathing. Then side plank is next. Right hand to the mat, face the long left side of your mat and breathe here. What would be the edge of the pose for you? There's what you usually do and how that usually feels, and that you already know. See if what you can create for yourself is that both sides of your torso are stretching. Your chest is turned slightly to the ceiling, not the floor. And then discover what it is to breathe with your body in this position. One more breath. High plank to low. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Left side, leg in the air, bend your knee and flip it over. All the while, keep your breath flowing. And then things come up. You have to deal with accidentally kicking the wall or stepping on your neighbor, sweat going into your eyes. Whatever's coming up, let that happen and then respond to it with just as much response as is needed. Whatever the physical edge of the pose is for you, go there. One more breath. Side plank, left hand to the mat, stack your body up, turn to the long right side of your mat and stretch from thumb through chest to thumb. Steady, steady breathing. You may discover in the middle of the pose, you've gone a little to the very edge of your edge. You're having a hard time keeping your breath flowing. It's fine right here to take a breath in and have a sigh and create a steady, smooth breath. High plank to low. High plank to low plank, then upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward for crescent lunge. Give yourself very square hips because it'll put you right in the way of the stretch that goes all the way down the front left side of your hip. Arms overhead. That's it. Bring the steady breathing. Sometimes you'll be the one in your area of the room supporting all the breathing, and that's okay. Even if it's your very first day, that might be you. Now move forward into your front leg and lunge more deeply and fire up your back leg. Like straighten it, press your heel back. And from that much intensity that you built in your legs, match it with how much you stretch up to the ceiling. Strong legs and then a matched stretch to the ceiling. You can even stretch back. The maximum you can stretch back is when your fingertips touch the floor behind your heel. This is a lot of space back there. One more breath. Hands to prayer, twist left elbow to your right knee and keep your breath flowing. Keep it flowing as you settle your elbow and then as you build the pose from your feet through your legs and for everyone into the pit of your belly, pull that up into your body. And then whatever's left from that and the expression for your chest and arms and shoulders go there. You might open your arms or bind your arms. And then 3 more breaths. Keep the strong pit of the belly. Here's the last one. Stay on the exhale. Reach up to crescent lunge. Open up to warrior 2. Lunge down. So the longer your legs are, the more mat there is to take up. If you feel like you can lunge and it's a kind of lunge, and you don't feel too much in both of your legs, go a little longer and angle your back foot in until you really feel your back hip. You can stretch your arms apart and tilt for extended side angle. And then there are a million variations here. How do you know when to go to a variation? When you've got fire in your legs and you're breathing and you've dealt with that. And then you have fire in the pit of your belly and you're breathing and you've dealt with that. Then as you breathe, if you can expand your chest and upper back, take variations. Wrap your arm, bind your arms. With your arms bound, step forward into a bound half moon. There is endless variation here. Go wherever you'll go. 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. Hands to the floor for chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, go into the left side, step forward and get right into the exploration of what it means to be alive in every single ounce of your legs. So crescent lunge is on the ball of the back foot. Warrior, it's flat. Crescent lunge, ball of the back foot, and you lunge down deeply. Steady, steady breath. The deeper you go, the more back bend you have access to. The more square your hips, the more back bend you have access to. See if you could maybe make your stride a little longer. Another foot step forward and see if there's a deeper lunge for you. Yes, that's it, Quinn. Then reach up out of your legs, but keep your legs deep. Yeah, as you breathe, deepen your legs, but lift a little higher to the ceiling with your arms. Then look up, and reach back behind you wherever the pose will take you. Take 1 more breath. Hands to prayer at the center of your chest and twist. Right elbow to your left knee. Keep your breath flowing. It's something to keep your breath flowing through the transitions. Feel your feet, your legs, your pelvis, the pit of your belly, the length of your spine, the broadness in your chest and upper back. And if all that's there and you're breathing, what's next? Open your arms, bind your arms, step into a side scissors pose. 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. Stay here for the whole last one. Then reach up to crescent lunge. Open to warrior 2. Take up a lot of space in this pose. Go a little longer. You make your feet a little longer apart. And then move your back heel back. So keep this on the floor. Pick this up. Yeah, swing that back. Exactly. Extended side angle tilt. Imagine that's loud at home. Sorry for sneezing at you at home. Deepen your lunge, halfway bind or fully bind. One of the things I look for here is that my bent front leg, my inner thigh from the groin out to the inner knee is just getting long. Feel how it can collapse. See if you can keep length there. 1 more breath. High plank to low. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take a breath. Have a sigh. 1 more time. Breath in. With a sigh, then look forward and move up to your hands. Halfway lift. Fold, chair twist, sit back into your chair pose, hands to prayer. Get your hips moving way back, then twist to the right, left elbow to your right knee. And steady breathing. Once you get your elbow settled, pull your right knee forward and your left hip back until your knees are evenly bending. That can be a little tricky, yes. When that happens, you get the left hip crease pulling back. You might notice the back, left, yes, ribs getting longer and longer. Keep stretching that. So create 2 points pulling apart the crease of your left hip and the depth of your left armpit. And then all the spaces in between, breathe into those and open up. One more breath. Then chair pose, forward fold. Feet hip width distance, hook your big toes and stretch your chest down toward your toes. Keep your breath flowing. This is a pose that helps us to become replenished, and it could occur that like I don't need breath here anymore. And for the pose to efficiently and effectively work, you do need breath here. Shake your head out. See if you can move past what you initially felt when you came into the pose and discover how all the other parts of your body are experiencing the pose. Find one area in the pose you never thought about before and put your attention there. Doing okay, Emily? Okay. Chair pose the other way with a twist. So sit back, hands to prayer, right elbow to your left knee. Have a peek at your feet and maybe organize your feet. If it looks in your feet like your toes are turned out and your heels are turned in, see if you can line them up so that they'll be parallel to the sides of your mat. And then on this side, consider pulling back your back right hip crease and making a lengthening stretch to your right armpit. So right hip crease back, right armpit deeper. The space between the two long as it can be. 2 more breaths. Right hip crease, right armpit. After the second breath, chair pose, forward fold, then gorilla pose, stand on your hands. So palms underneath of your feet. And if you're able to get your palms stuck way underneath of your feet, you might even be able to just lift the weight off of your heels and put more weight into the balls of your feet. As your weight shifts and shimmies around to balance, you'll get a lot of massaging in your palms. Another breath, maybe with a sigh, and just let the weight of your head hang. Then take crow pose or any variation in this space. So it could be goddess squat, seated crow, hands down crow, handstand. Everything's available, but keep it dynamic with your breath flowing. 5 breaths. Whatever you're taking here with the 5 breaths, ensure that on the exhale, there's an additional amount of pressure. Elbows out, knees in, belly up into your body. You'll find that your back gets more rounded and hollow. Finish your 5th breath and then move to chaturanga, the low plank position. From there, upward facing dog to downward facing dog. A breath and a sigh. Then one more time, inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward and move up to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Press your feet into the ground, come up to standing and take your arms overhead. Set your gaze on one point, keep it there. Now right arm under your left, wrap your forearms, squat, right leg over your left, see if your toes will tuck. Then squeeze your legs a little more and have them create a quality of dragging down the lower half of your body. And squeeze your arms a little more and have those create a quality of dragging your upper body up. See if you can let go of how you might be holding the pose in your low back. And as you pull down and pull up, that the whole of your body just gets longer. If it does, gather your lower abdominal muscles in and support it. Step out on your next inhale, stretch up. Then left side, left arm under, wrap them, left leg over. Steady breath the whole way. Yep. Pull your body apart. One more breath here. Sit really deep on the exhale. Then step out on the inhale. Take a second set. Right arm under, right leg over. See if your arms will twine, twist around one another a little more, your legs a little more, now that you're more warmed up. Create a quality of just wringing out. Grace, pull the pit of your belly and let your lower back get long. Sit your sitting bones down. Step out on your next inhale, stretch. Exhale, set up the left arm under, left leg over. Steady breathing the whole time. Steady breath. Stay with it. Sometimes I think the most peaceful sound in the world is here, deep in eagle pose, when all there is breathing. Step out and take your arms overhead. Keep your gaze set. Hug your right knee into your chest. Get yourself steady and squared up, meaning your standing foot is heel behind your middle toe. You're standing tall. To stand tall, there's a quality of your thigh bone, your right thigh bone moving back into your pelvis. Keep all of that. Hold on to your foot with your hand or with a strap and extend your knee forward on your right side. Holding on, you'll get a lot of extra stretching. Not holding on, a lot of strength work. Pick where you're working. Not holding on, sweep your arms overhead. Lift your gaze, lift the center of your chest up and breathe 3 breaths here. Steady, easy breaths right here at the edge of your strength, at the edge of the pose. When you finish the last breath, hug your knee into your chest. Open up for airplane pose. You can stretch your chest open. In your airplane pose, if it's available, you can take your hands around behind your back and interlace them. If you're able to bind your hands in this way, you can bring your torso down your front thigh, your lifted leg high up in the air, and spill your arms overhead. This pose is called fallen tree. You would just keep tilting and dropping your hands. See what you can find. Keep steady. Hands to prayer position. Press them together at the center of your chest. Half moon. Left arm down, right arm up. Steady breathing. Bearing weight on our hip like this and moving positions is a great opportunity to open your hip. Now you could stay in the half moon or bend your knee and catch your ankle. If you catch your ankle once you have your ankle, you're going to get a whole lot of extra information. I usually get a lot of, wow, I never knew your quad could get that tight. So breathe and let the parts that you're finding that feel closed open up a little bit. Lift your leg a little higher if you can, Tamara. Yeah, and wake up your toes, look up. For everyone, forward fold and hang. Then just sway from side to side or come up to standing and get your gaze settled and your breath steady, your body settled. And we'll do the left side. Hug your left knee into your chest. Just keep that breath going. Have a peek at your standing foot. I know for me, when I'm not looking at it, my toes have a way of creeping their way out to the side of my heel. It's not lined up anymore. And then it just exacerbates what I have all day long, that my lower back's getting tighter and tighter. You might give yourself a little test. If you put your palm against the inside of your knee and press, so right hand, left knee, that will help you find this quality of locking into being square. Once you have that, once you've got that press and you feel your hip just drop and your thigh go back, take a breath in and then exhale, push your heel out. You could keep pressing here and lifting up. That's a little challenging to do. You could just imagine you're still pressing and see if you can keep creating square. Steady breathing, arms overhead, just keep reaching. Just gentle, just a little gentle pressure. Suck your thigh bone back into your pelvis and use the pit of your belly. Then hug your knee into your chest. Airplane pose. There's about enough of that. Lori said, onward. Reach back. Keep breathing. Once you get set up into your airplane, you're welcome to bind your hands at your low back. Wake up both of your legs, both of your ankles, both of your feet, and begin to tilt perhaps to the fallen tree pose and spill your bound hands overhead. And then just discover what is available to you here. Where can you find an area that was a little closed up and tight, and breathe into it and create an opening. Definitely more breath will help. Hands to prayer. It's easy to just concentrate and forget to breathe, and then open up to half moon. Stretch from your center, the core, something deep low in the pit of your belly, all the way out to your fingertips. See if you can become aware of there being some sort of connection from that low belly point out to your fingertips and your toes. Keep that. And then bend your top knee and catch your ankle. And keep on breathing and reading. Fingers alive, toes alive. 2 more breaths. And then just let yourself feel the pose. Just for 1 more breath, just to feel the pose. Forward fold and hang. Sway from side to side. Take a sigh if a sigh would be helpful, and come on up to standing. Once you're standing, move your right arm bone back, open your elbow, forearm, and palm to the side, and grab your ankle from the inside. Let your tailbone drop and the pit of your belly lift and reach to the ceiling. And then begin to stretch. Lately, I've been liking just turning my palm sideways. Somehow or another, that same sense of squaring that we got pressing against the inner knee, I can get more action with that when I turn my palm to the side. All right, I'm going to help you just a little bit with your grip back here. I'll hold your foot, let go, spin. This way. Yeah, feel the difference? Now go to the edge of the pose. Whatever that is for you. Don't fall, Emily. I'm going to switch your grip. Spin. There. 1 more breath. Come on out of it. We'll switch sides. Now the left side. It's just a tricky grip. It's easy to spin your hand the opposite way, but your shoulder will get caught forward. We just want arm bone back, elbow open, forearm open, bend your knee. And no matter how many times you practice that, you're going to find yourself sometimes needing to switch your grip. Damien, switch your grip. Keep spinning open towards the, yeah, hold it that way. You got it. You got it. Yes. You can hold it just on the outside. Good. Kick and press. A little softness to your standing knee and put weight in your big toe. Now kick. Kick. Yes, right there, kick. Pull your arms apart. Keep kicking. Be balanced in the middle of it. So that will stay. Require that you don't get to be sure about your balance. You have to be working with it on the edge of falling out all the time. Kick back here and equally reach. Okay, step out. Feet on the floor. Maybe hands on your hips, eyes on one point. Give yourself a chance to feel that pose, what it did for you, what's still available to you. And it was a warm-up. You're getting a second chance. So the initial, just figure it out, find it out. You've done that. Now let's do the second round. Right arm back, forearm open. So there is a halfway point where it's right arm back and you hold the outside ankle, or right arm back, forearm open, and you hold the inside ankle. Get ready and start to kick. For everyone, some softness in your standing knee rather than a locked knee. Yeah, your pose may have a little bit more micro movement now to it, and though you'll be able to learn to balance it from the core, from the pit of your belly. We've already addressed, and we can do again, from the pit of your belly out to your fingertips and toes. Make that mental connection from the pit of your belly to your fingertips. Then reaching evenly to your fingers, your toes, and you'll have your balance. Step out and switch sides. Instinctually feel like lock your knee and force it to be still, but that's not balance. Balance has a lot of motion in it. Second set, second side. One of the things that our body is accomplishing here is enhanced lung capacity, stretching and compressing sides of the lungs, and in doing so, bringing a greater health to them. A greater ease to expand and relax as we fill them and relax them. Move to the edge of your pose, not the cautious spot where you think I can hold this however long we persevere here, but the edge where all of a sudden the pose lights up for you. It feels alive. 1 more breath. Come on out, feet on the floor. And you won't get it every single time, but you'll never get it if you never try. Isn't there a Michael Jordan quote about that? You only make the shots you take. Put your right foot to your left inner thigh for tree pose. Hands to prayer. Press your palms together. See if just by pressing your palms together, you could settle your system, steady it. Or want to work again on your balance? Reach for the ceiling in such a way that you actually think you're going to take up off of the floor and fly and touch the ceiling. You need that much reach. So reach that much to the ceiling, not a little reach where your wrists are a little soft and your elbows are a little soft, but that much reach that you think and you believe in your mind, wow, I actually might fly away here. That's how much reach. Do that much. And then you could look up, because you always want to look in the direction you're going and reach. Maybe you'll surprise yourself one day. And then step out, switch sides. Right foot down, left foot up. Hands to prayer position. And then you pick the arm setting, palms together, reaching, and then there are a million other variations that are incredible as well. And just keep your breath flowing. You know what you need. Your body will crave the shape that you need, and you'll naturally go there as we continue practicing class by class, and you have more ability to hear your body and then also give it permission. Those are the things we're learning, not shapes of poses. Yeah, and then before we leave the pose, feel what it feels to be like right here at this edge of the pose that you created. Just what are you experiencing right now? Usually I experience a little bit of like, am I really doing this? And step out. Come to the front of your mat. Once you get to the front, sweep your arms overhead and fold to the floor. Halfway lift, low plank. You can drop right down. Upward facing dog. Get the stretch. We don't have too many more of these. Downward facing dog. Right side triangle. Step your right foot inside of your right hand and anchor your feet long apart, but with really strong corners. I always look for the stretch from my foot to my sitting bone and all the way through the spaces in between. Once I have that, because that can be difficult to set up, then I set up the next part, where you turn and reach for the ceiling. Then I can concentrate on the space between the crease of my bottom hip, the right hip, and the deep hollowing of my armpit. Put your attention on your right armpit for a second. You probably never paid attention to that. If you've got your spider fingertips on the floor pressing down and your palm hollowing and lifting, you probably have a hollowing and lifting in your armpit, and we're looking for that. So you've got the inner leg stretch, the armpit hollowing and lifting so the right side body is stretching. Now try to add this in, just with a breath. When you exhale, the lowest pit of your belly, pull it into your body and up to your chin. Do you feel your lower back opening? You may be then inspired to just let your chest open. And then breathe into all of the new space that you've just created. Not restricted, not careful and safe, but unlimited space. Come on up to standing. Turn and face the long left side of your mat. Feet parallel to the short sides. Hands on your hips. Lift your chest up to the ceiling. And forward fold all the way down to the floor. Walk your fingertips, your spider hand fingertips away from you. Get the hollow of your palm and armpit. And then sink your hips behind your heels. You want to create a maximum stretch from your fingertips, through your armpits, down through your side rib cage to the crease of your hips. Those are a bunch of areas that we never stretch. Let your head relax. Your fingertips, if you had 2 blocks, could each be on a block, and that would provide some extra stimulation for you. Deepen and deepen your breaths, since you have to. And let your whole side body be opened. Yes. Let there be just space for breath. Walk your hands back into the center. Come up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat. Set your feet up wide so you can see there's width here. And then long. This is a different pose. We'll end up just folded at the waist, and the hips will stay part of the legs. Way back here now, we're forced to work from the surfaces of our feet through our knees to hinge and keep the hips with the spine. Work on coming forward with a long, flat back. All the space in between my heel and sitting bone, I can feel stretching. Maybe I'll even do the hand bind so I can really get the stretch then from my sitting bones and my tail opposite my chest and the crown of my head. So look for this to be like a V, really. Concentrated in the front leg and the spine, those two shapes being long. Tiny little softness to your front knee, just a tiny bit, and that'll put some pressure here and here. Yep. And keep hinging. You might find your back heel lifts up a little bit. That's okay. Keep the hips and the legs the way you've set them. Left arm on the blocker floor under your left shoulder. Maybe once you get your arm under your shoulder, you'll do another reach back with your right hand, forward with your chest, back with your right hip. That makes my back heel come up, and that's also okay. Then start to rotate. We're looking to wake up the back rib cage here. Yes, there's a lot of information as well in the back of your front leg and in other places. Take another breath in, turn open on your exhale, then hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Bring your left foot forward for triangle pose. A long stride, put your foot on the floor and anchor your feet. Get the stretch in the back of your front leg. Then turn and open to the side. So I tend to go for, as a teacher, setting the pose up from the floor, both feet and the left hand, all those points set. And then the stretch. So now my pose is set up all the way through my pelvis. And then through the torso, body long and reach. Otherwise, the default can be that the legs get locked and there's a waist bend. This isn't really what we're looking for in triangle. We're looking for this big expression. Again, like a V, that the body is folding in the hip joint. Then strong belly, and maybe you can open the chest more. Keep your front foot's big toe pressing into the mat. Keep pressing it. Yes, especially in the back bend. It's an anchor. Strong belly. Breathe in. Drop your head back and open. Look for her hip behind you, Greg. Keep looking. Come on up to standing. Long right side of your mat. Hands interlaced behind your back and open your chest. Forward fold. Let your hands spill overhead. And if they don't spill, it could be handy to hold onto a strap or a towel that lets your hands be a little wider apart. Even if they do bind, holding the strap or towel has you in an area of your shoulders that are different, and that might be nicer for you. So you've got to pick for yourself. The only way you ever know is to try all the ways and decide which way works for you. So that's not the way where you feel nothing. It's the way where you feel something, and your breath is what's needed to let that feeling get softened, the space get bigger. That's very different from I'm on the edge of injury and I'm just grinning and bearing it. If the breath isn't making it a little easier, then you're too much into the injury space. All right, come on up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat. Standing single leg forward fold. You had all the directions on the other side, so put them into place here. Hands can stay on your hips. They could go to the floor, whatever works best for you setting this up in your body. Give yourself a little width. Bring this foot over toward this edge. Yes. Yeah. Then really work from your big toe to your right there. Did you feel that shift you made in your hips? Bring weight in your front leg. A little bit more here. You found that edge of your hamstring. You can use this. This might help. And just keep pressing here. Yes, and pulling this back. And let your knee be soft like it is. You got it, Lori. Twisting triangle, right hand on the blocker floor under your right shoulder. Make your body long. All the left hips in the room, those need to pull to the back of the room. Feel how your weights come into your front leg. So bring it to your back leg. Now pull your chest across the room and then see if there's any twist. It doesn't matter how far the twist goes. What you might find is right through here, some more length and space. Good. 2 more breaths. Chest across the room, hips behind you, back right ribs turn, hands to the floor, downward facing dog. Stretch back, maybe take a sigh. Then come to a high plank and lower all the way down to your belly for locust pose. Take your arms behind you, interlace your hands, open your chest and shoulders or hold onto a strap, then lift up. All the way up. Once you get up, feel what's going on in your body. Belly, is it working or relaxed? We'd like it to be working. Back, is it Is it overworking or kind of working? Does it feel crowded or does it still have some space? Look for those cues in your body and then come on down. So we'd like for your back in a back bend to have a lot of space. Let's try a second set. This time arms bound or just arms out wide. It's up to you. And then maybe turn your toes under like you're going to do a push-up and activate your legs. So if the floor were at my belly, I'd actually just look like this. And then press your heels to the wall behind you, lift your head to the wall in front of you, and stretch all the way through the side of your body, and then see how much lift up there is. Once your toes are really anchored and the back of your body is really square, you'll have room for a broad back to the pelvis and for your tailbone to descend. Yes, that's what will create bigger and bigger back bends. Feel what that feels like in your body because you're going to be using it. Take another breath and come on down. You can bend your knees and wave them from side to side. Then we'll take floor bow pose. Reach back and hold your ankles. You can do this one side at a time. You can do both at the same time. Knees only hip width distance. Many of you have a block. You could be hugging the block between your shins. Press back with your shins and kick up with your feet. Let your arms just go along for the ride. If you're doing one-sided, the extra arm can be in front of you for support. The back leg in the chaturanga leg. Knees only hip width distance. So try to bring them a little closer. That can be tricky. You could just imagine your knees are squeezing into something. So like you're squeezing my ankles. Yep. But then your outer foot, press that out. Opposite. So this would go this way. Well, this is going this way. So weird. Come on down. Wave your feet from side to side. We'll do a second set, or you'll just switch sides if you're doing one side at a time. So set it up and off you go. Second side or second set. Kick back and up. See if you can flex your kicking foot. That's it, Susan. Keep on breathing. Remember when we put our hands on the insides of our knees, when our knee was in the leg raise, squeeze in right here and out here. Yeah, so you get this chicken wing thing going on. Another breath. Come on down and wave your feet from side to side. Then hands on the floor beside your bottom ribs, upward facing dog. Don't fully straighten your arms. Just chest through your arm bones and up. Lift your chest as much as you can, and then look over your right shoulder and pull your left shoulder back a little more and keep it there. And then look over your left shoulder that you pulled back and pull your right shoulder back and keep it there. Then look forward and lift your chest up, look up. Downward facing dog. Stretch back from fingertips through armpits, through each one of your ribs to your hip crease. Then kneel down for camel pose. Let's do hero pose first, actually. Put your knees on the floor, hip width distance or closer. Open your feet wider than your knees. So you're starting to create like a letter W with your legs. For some, this is enough right here. Others, you might walk back a little bit. Still others, you might sit on a block. Others, you may sit on the floor. You can feel your knees stretching and your quads stretching. Pick your spot, but toes point straight back. Then depending on your proportions, your fists or your palms, press them into the arch of your foot and out to the baby toe side of your foot. So we want the legs and feet going straight back, and the hands will help to make that so in your feet. And just breathe and let yourself stretch. So good for your knees. I can definitely tell when I haven't done this one for a while. You can come to a tabletop and just stretch your legs out one at a time. Then you might like to take the hero pose again or move on to camel pose. So for camel pose now, kneel down, hands in back pocket. So like on your butt cheeks, not your lower back, and lift. When I'm lifting, I'm pressing down with my hands. So I get more and more of the back of my body going down and the front of my body going up. Also, it's helping to keep it so that my knees do not turn out and all the weight and pressure come into my lower back. I want to keep the back of my pelvis broad so I can lift more in the front of my spine. And then as you're lifting here, you may find there's a little more space in the stretching up. So without sinking down, maybe you bring your hands to your heels. When you get in the biggest space for you, the biggest pose your body's going to be doing in this today, breathe. Breathe to expand your chest and upper back. On your next inhale, lift your body up out of the pose, hands to the floor, downward facing dog, stretch back. Fingers to hips, stretch. Get into the stretch and take a breath and really fill up your whole capacity of your lungs. And exhale. Jump through your hands, sit down and roll onto your back. We'll get ready for some of the back bends. Now that we understand them in the shape of our body, we'll start with bridge, feet on the floor underneath of your knees and parallel to the sides of your mat. Press your feet, all four corners of each foot into the mat and lift your hips up into the air. Once you get here, notice if what you do is turn your toes out and your knees out and squeeze all the pressure in your butt and lower back. Instead, move your heels a little wider and let your lower back have a quality of being broad. Press your feet into the mat. Keep them pressing. Don't move them. Bring your right knee into your chest. Keep pressing. Yeah, don't you feel like you want to skip this foot that's on the floor around a little bit? Try to keep it where it is or was. And then toes of the lifted foot up to the ceiling. Now, opposition, big toes, one end of the floor, one end of the ceiling. Just really connect with those pressure points. Knee into your chest and foot on the floor. Now set your feet hip width distance and make them parallel to the sides of the mat and press your feet down and keep them. Bring your left knee into your chest, as far in as it will go, and then toes up to the ceiling. See if you can press into both big toes, or imagine there's a palm inside of one knee and inside of the other ankle. That's the center of your body. It's crazy, isn't it? Knee into your chest, foot on the floor. Come on out. Knees side to side. Okay, bridge pose. Up into the bridge as a preparation for wheel pose. Once you're in the bridge, hands on the floor, set them wide. The angle of your palms is up to you. There's some angle that makes it so your wrists don't really hurt. Press down and rise up. For me, my fingertips have to be pointing squarely forward. For others, slightly turning their hands outwards. So hands on the floor, press into the wheel pose. All the way up, just get up there. See what you've got going in your body today. Take a breath, tuck your chin, and come on down. Once you're on your back, move your knees from side to side and see what showed up. If what's in your body right now is a lot of pinching sensation in your lower back, don't push your hips so high next time. We don't want the pinching sensation. Okay, set up the next one. Hands, feet on the floor, press down, rise up. If you're getting a pinching sensation, try setting your hands and feet wider on your mat, not pressing your hips so high to the ceiling. Come on down, knees side to side. Set up the next one, the third one. Hands, feet on the floor, press down and rise up. So the way to deeper back bends is to continually keep building the alignment and the skill and then deepening one back bend after the other one. Press down and rise up. Let your chest open up, then tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. We're going to take 2 more of these. Your body's open and ready. 2 more. If you have access to the wheel, take the wheel. If bridge is the better pose for you at this point, take that. And then play with the tools around you. Walls, 2 blocks, 1 under each foot or 1 under each hand. Get yourself set up, press down and rise up. See what there is to see in your body. Quit, open your heels if you can and soften your knees a little bit. Tuck your chin and come on down, knees side to side. And we've got 1 more. Some of you are building space. Some of you are building strength. Last one. Hands, feet on the floor. Press down and rise up. Now, when you're in the pose, find what feels like it is overworking the most. Take a breath and relax that spot. And then see what's left. 1 more breath. Come on down. Supta Baddha Konasana. So soles of your feet together, knees open wide. Do some deep inner listening to what you're feeling in your body right now, what you're experiencing in this moment right now. All of this is a result of the practice, good or bad. Hug your knees into your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Rock from side to side. Then legs straight up into the air. We're going to re-stabilize. Curl up as much as you can curl. So you want to keep all the side body length we've been creating. Could be helpful to reach to the front of your mat. For some, to reach to your ankles, you pick. And then just pulsing. Go 10 times. Pulsing. All we're doing with this pulsing is just keeping your body stable in the core and tempting that with the pulsing. Take all 10 of those. When you're finished the 10th one, you can hug your knees into your chest. Next, set your feet up or your shins like a tabletop. Then curl up and reach in front of you. Then we're going to tap a toe and bring it up. Tap a toe and bring it up, all while keeping from hip to hip, rib to rib, stable, no rocking around. Use your breath. Inhale. Usually an exhale on the effort when you're doing abdominal work is the place to put the exhale. I would do it when I was putting my knee back into my chest. This may seem like a little bit of nothing, but if you keep the movements just so, you'll feel a lot of working your very lowest abdominal muscles. Take 3 more on each side. Stabilize the leg that's not doing the work. After you finish the 3 more on each side, hug your knees into your chest. Then you can rock head to tail several times and through to downward facing dog. Once you're in the downward facing dog, right leg forward for pigeon pose. Align the thigh of your right leg, your right side, to the side of your mat. That will mean that your knee ends up directly in front of your hip. And then open up your shin, your knee joint, as square as your shin will be to the top of your mat. Less square, a little less intense. Bring this knee right in front of your hip, so right about here. So it needs to keep going that way, yeah. A little more. That's it. And then you can square your shin more if there's a space for more intensity. Once you get kind of settled here, body accepts the shape, you've done the support you need by putting a block under your right hip if needed. Reach back with your left hand, capture your left ankle, left hand to left ankle, then fold forward. Yep. Sometimes the best tool is not quite a block, but a hand towel tucked under your right hip so you don't tilt to the right. It's a good extra tool to have for your practice. You may find you don't fold very far once you have your foot, and that's okay. Then switch sides. Pose on the left side. Left forward. Unexamined, for many of us, our knee will end up way at an angle over to the left, just in front of your hip. A little block under your left hip could make your hips stable. We want to see that they're level with one another from the bird's eye view. And then with your right hand, reach back for your right ankle and fold forward. You tuck your block under here so you feel more steady. There you go. Even here in this pose where there's less movement and still a fair amount of sensation, keep your breath flowing. Keep open instead of closing down and going into your own alone space. Stay open with your experience by continuing to breathe and be connected. Then sit on your left hip, swing your right leg around, long right leg, bent left leg, face your long leg and fold over it. So work with what's showing up in your body. If your knee is in the air, tuck a block under it, left hand to your right baby toe, and maybe wrap your right hand behind your back. Go to the edge of the pose where you feel a lot of, where you have no more space. You're right at the edge where there's no more space. And then breathe. See if you can soften and discover a little bit more space or more ease. At the beginning of the practice, the poses change by adding effort. Somewhere in the middle, that changes, and the poses deepen, increase, grow by adding ease, subtracting effort. Switch sides. Long left leg, bend your right leg. Reach for your left baby toe with your right hand and fold. This is one of my favorite stretches at this point in the practice. It would not be at the very beginning, but by this point, it's one of my favorite. Flex your toes. So toes coming back toward your face, especially the baby toe side of your foot. Lori, can you soften your outer ankle and let your baby toes come back more? So right now, it looks like this. And there's part of your hamstring that's not engaged. Yeah, go there. Yeah. Come on up, 2 legs in front of you. Move your bones back, but keep them kind of collected and back. Then fold. Hold the baby toe side of your foot and keep your spine nice and long. Maybe tuck your chin. You might even find it helpful to just bind your hands behind your back. Release your toes. Reverse tabletop. Put your hands on the floor behind you with your fingers pointing toward your feet. Roll your shoulders back, then press down and lift up. Good. Breathe and let your forearms be stretched. Your outer corners of your chest and the fronts of your shoulders, all those areas to stretch. One more breath and sit down. Stretch your legs strong, toes in the air. Use your hands in a C shape around your hips to push your hips away from you toward your heels, all that pushing away. And stretch the side of your body as long as it will stretch. Then when all that's in place, keep opening up your chest. You could drop your head back and breathe. A very active fish pose. Length in the side of your body, then expanding in your chest and upper back. In other words, not a sense of sinking in your bottom ribs. Keep that area stretched long. So as you breathe right now, just to do an internal evaluation, have I got as much stretch in the side of my waist as I can possibly have from the hip, the side of my hip up into my armpit? Or is there some part of that that's kind of sinking? Tuck your chin and roll onto your flat back. Once you're on your flat back in inversion, so roll your feet overhead for plow pose, or lie on your flat back with your legs straight up in the air for waterfall pose. How do you know which one is for you? Well, for some of us, rolling over our neck and shoulders, just to how our body is composed, open and closed, it just doesn't work. So then that one's not necessarily for you. Feeling like you'd like a little bit less intensity, then flat on the back with the legs in the air. Sometimes you're just working toward more opening your lower back, and then taking the waterfall would still be the choice. From the plow, you could take your legs into the air for shoulder stand. Mhm. Shoulder stands, bring your feet onto the floor for plow pose, right behind your head. Perhaps deaf man's pose, where your knees are at your temples or beside your ears. And instead of sinking, create that there's as much lift and opening as you possibly can connect to. Then for everyone, come rolling out of your pose, just one bone at a time, till you're all on your flat backs with your knees hugging into your chest. You might even like curling your head up to your knees, touch your forehead toward your knees to just let all of your back body open up. Then relax your head. Drop your knees to the left and look to the right for a simple twist. Switch sides. Come to the center for Supta Baddha Konasana, a chance to get your bones arranged and settled onto your mat. In the studio, you've got a cold eye towel near your head somewhere. You could use that. And then when you feel like your body has really settled down, it's allowed for support. Stretch your legs out long and wide. Arms long and wide. Make sure your body feels really supported. Lower back, your knees. Then take a deep breath in. Exhale through your mouth and let your whole body settle down onto your mat. Body part by body part, we've brought breath, movement, heat, space to create a quality right now of being able to enjoy deep rest. All the parts have been attended to and are what they are. And there's a breath and a vitality throughout your whole system. Allow yourself to be in that experience. Begin to deepen your breath. Start to move around your fingers and your toes. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, squeeze. You might like to then stretch your arms overhead and hug your knees into your chest. Roll to your side and bring yourself up into a sitting position. Once you get seated, stretch your arms overhead. Then bring your hands into prayer position at the center of your chest. And with your eyes closed, just pause right here and feel what you're feeling from your practice in your body physically, in your thoughts, emotionally. Just where are you right now? And from here, set an intention for the rest of your day. And 3 times we can chant Om together. Take a deep breath in. Bring your thumb knuckles to the center of your forehead and inhale. Exhale together. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you for joining this morning. I hope that you have a great rest of your Friday and rest of your weekend. And I look forward to seeing you in class again. Next to me on the mat or what I'm teaching. If you have any questions about your practice or the studio or about Aim to Empower, happy to answer your questions. Ah.